listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in and glad to have you with me here today. Final show of the week. Taking Thanksgiving, Black Friday off. We'll be back on the Monday to recap everything. But since it's the final show of the week, we'll give you the final preview and prediction for LSU and Oklahoma. Let you hear from both head coaches one more time, give you the thoughts, and of course, a score prediction, and send you on the way. Hope everybody obviously has a happy, healthy Thanksgiving, great food, great time with family, all of that, and appreciate everybody for being here. Be sure to subscribe and share if you have not already. Follow me on social media if you have not already either. Twitter X at Musso Matthew. Find me on Facebook, on Instagram at Matthew Musso1. All of that is greatly appreciated. Excuse me. Okay, let's not really waste any more time. Let's dive right into LSU-Oklahoma, the regular season finale. You are looking at a 6 p.m. Central kickoff in Tiger Stadium as LSU goes for win number 8 to close out the 2024 season. Not where anybody really wanted to be, and I understand that fully, but it's where you are. And I hope that it doesn't take away from everything that could be one great final atmosphere in Tiger Stadium. This is a game that everybody really had circled on the schedule when it came out. This will be the first time Oklahoma and LSU face each other in the regular season. So a byproduct of that is this is Oklahoma's first trip ever to Tiger Stadium. Two great brands in the history of the sport doing battle in one of the greatest venues in the history of the sport. I would tell you the greatest venue in the history of the sport. Neither have had the season they want, but the rest of those things don't change. But when you add in neither team having the season that they want, it's a holiday weekend, the atmosphere in Tiger Stadium could be subdued. But I'm hopeful that everybody shows out one more time and can create a special atmosphere, because this is a really cool game that we're getting to see really for the first time in a different light. Normally it's postseason, and hell, normally it's with a lot on the line in the postseason as well. But now it's a conference game. I know everybody wants to see if this can blossom into something between LSU and Oklahoma. I don't know if that's going to happen. The SEC has to figure out their scheduling deal, and if they stick with like 3 permanents, I don't believe Oklahoma is going to be one of those permanents for LSU. So, it will rotate on and off. So, in terms of it, developing into something, I don't know if that's going to happen. Man, they really wanted LSU and Texas A&M to develop into something, and I guess in a way it kind of has, but it's always felt a little bit forced. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens here, but with it potentially rotating on and off the schedule, I think there's less opportunity maybe for that. So, I will again say, we're witnessing something special here, and you get it at your home stadium. I'd love to see it become one heck of an atmosphere. To the game itself, and we touched on this a little bit Tuesday when we first started taking our look at Oklahoma. We started there with the offense, and we'll go back to the offense. So because we were so offensive heavy, I want to start with the defense. Here was Brian Kelly on Monday talking about Brent Venables' defense.
Just does a great job. I've got a chance to go against them several times at Clemson, and they mix things up. They make things complicated. They give you a multitude of different looks. It's a good front. Danny Stutzman is an All-American linebacker. So this would be a great way to finish off the regular season with a team that's coming in off of a great win.
A lot of different looks, a lot of disguising, keep you off balance, keep you on your toes. You never quite know where things are going. And yes, Danny Stutzman is an absolute beast in the middle of Oklahoma's defense. 100 tackle guy, going to be drafted pretty damn early, probably early day 2 in the second round, just because of the need for linebackers in the draft. That is a guy that can wreck your day. And he shows up really big in just, for one, he's all over the field. And, I mean, if you look at it, you're not going to see a lot of sacks. You're not going to see a lot of anything. But it's the pressure that he puts everywhere on the field that can force the offense into bad decisions and into turning the football over and things of that nature. He can wreck your day in the middle of that Oklahoma defense. Danny Stutzman is awesome. You can go down any defensive category you really want in the country, and you're going to find Oklahoma pretty close to the top as a team. 23rd in the nation in scoring defense. Really good. In total defense, so yards they allow, Oklahoma 16th in the country, allowing just a touch over 300 yards per game. Salty unit. And it's crazy to look at Oklahoma now and think of what they've been, where, I mean, they've just been they couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense. But they had such an elite offense. It's the complete opposite so far under Brent Venables' tenure, which I think everybody expected because he is such a great defensive-minded head coach. And it's like, man, this signals a change in Oklahoma, right? Them going away from what's allowed them so much success and moving towards and embracing defense. And it's worked out from a production standpoint on defense. You're still waiting for it to hit when it comes to record-wise for Brent Venables. He was very much on the hot seat, but has very much cooled that seat here down the stretch because of the improvement on offense that we talked about Tuesday, and that we'll get to here. You look at Oklahoma in rush defense, and again, you don't have to go very far. They're 15th in the nation in rush defense. That's going to be a big thing for LSU. Look, man, you've had 2 good games running the football in a row, and really for the first time all year. Now, can you continue to build on it? This is the conversation we had last week going into the Vanderbilt game. Hey, you ran the ball great against Florida. Can you build on it? Probably not, because you haven't all year. Well, now you did. Can you continue to build on it? Again, I don't know the answer. This is a stiff test you're facing in Oklahoma. You're going to need Garrett Nussmeier to be awesome once again in every phase of his game, to move the football and be able to finish drives against this Oklahoma defense. Because as you might imagine, Oklahoma ranks pretty darn good in red zone defense too. Top 30, as a matter of fact, in red zone defense in the country for the Sooners. But y'all know where I'm going with this, if you've listened. Stop rate. I love stop rate. And Oklahoma's 12th in the nation with 1 game to go in stop rate. 72.1% of their defensive drives end up in a stop, end up in no points. Punts, turnovers, turnover on downs, that's stop rate. 72% of their drives. Last week, going into Vanderbilt, I thought LSU was going to have to win the game on offense because I expected Diego Pavia to have much more success. Because why wouldn't you? LSU hadn't been able to stop running quarterbacks. Ultimately, they did. And it helped that you had, the best game from your quarterback all season, and you played a complete game, and you won. The margin of victory wasn't, I think what anybody would expect when you watch LSU Vanderbilt. It's a scrappy Vanderbilt team, and LSU's down. But I thought they would have to win it on offense because I thought Vanderbilt would be able to score on LSU's defense more than they did. So hat tip to the LSU defense. That was great. I feel the complete opposite this week going into Oklahoma. I think LSU has to win this on defense because I expect it to be tough sledding, moving the football against the Sooners for every reason that we just went through. Like if you look at one area where maybe they're not as good, it's in the secondary, but they're still top 50 in pass defense. Billy Bowman at the back end at the safety position is a player for Oklahoma. That is another draftable guy on this defense. He's really good. Their front is really good. They're not, it's not packed full of draftable guys yet, but they're young and talented. I think it's going to be tough for LSU to move the ball. Garrett Nussmeier obviously is going to be key. Of course he is, Musso. He's a quarterback, right? It's the most important position. Yes, I know. I get it. That comes off as stating the obvious. But this is what I mean. I'm not telling you Garrett Nussmeier is going to replicate last week. I'm not telling you he's going to replicate his best game of the season. It would be awesome if he did. But I'm not saying that's what he's going to do. But he needs to carry principles of that into this week. The poise, the decisiveness. LSU simplifying helped a lot. I expect them to do that again. Brian Kelly said on his coaches show this week, LSU, the coaches, they went to the players on offense and defense and said, hey, what do you want to run? What are you comfortable with? And we'll build the game plan around that. Which is a great freaking idea, but, whatever. They ran one play on offense 7 different times because Garrett Nussmeier liked the concept. When you had a quarterback like Nuss, who was so shaken back there, and he was, the poise wasn't there, the decisiveness wasn't there, he was being tricked by the defense, confused, the simplifying helped. So I expect them to do that again here because what did Brian Kelly say in that cut about Venables' defense? He talked about the different looks they give you, the confusion, disguise, all of that, and that's what was giving Garrett Nussmeier a lot of issue. So with them going forward to simplify, I expect him to be able to carry the principles of the game over. Again, will he replicate? Probably not. He's facing a better defense. But if Nuss has those things, decisiveness, poise, confidence, time in the pocket, all of those things, we've seen what he can do. But I do think running the football is going to be more of a challenge this week for LSU. They have to be able to stay on schedule. They have to be able to stay balanced on offense because that's where when Nuss struggled in big games against good defenses like A&M, like Ole Miss, like Alabama. Alabama's got a good defense. You saw LSU get away from the running game too early, and they just forced the ball up in the air, and it didn't go well. Ole Miss went well because he made insane throws, late in that game. We all remember. And the other thing that I loved, and we talked about this a little bit in the recap, was LSU used the middle of the field more. And Garrett Nussmeier had a lot of success over the middle of the field. At least it feels like it that this season. You go back to some of the biggest throws he made in the South Carolina game, they were over the middle of the field. Some of the biggest throws he made in Ole Miss, they were over the middle of the field. Hell, the one touchdown you had against Florida was over the middle of the field. He looked way comfortable doing that. And it seemed like for a while LSU got away from that there. So, again, Nuss has to carry the principles over. Another reason I think LSU has to win this on defense is Oklahoma's offense. And that's really the main reason. I think it's going to, like I said, I think it's going to take you time to find footing potentially on offense yourself against that OU defense. Oklahoma's offense is interesting, and we've talked about this on Tuesday. Not to rehash the entire thing, Jackson Arnold gets benched, misses 2 games on the bench, is back for South Carolina, doesn't go great. They make a change at offensive coordinator. Seth Littrell's out the door. And since then, Oklahoma shifted to much more of a ball control style offense, running the ball with their backs and Jackson Arnold. He had 131 yards on 25 carries against Alabama. He had 24 carries against Ole Miss. He's been great running the football. And it's some stuff Vanderbilt will give you, but they like to spread you out, so it's not as much triple option principle in it. It's just a lot of things. Brent Venables talked on Tuesday at his press conference about the improvement they've made in the run game and how it's happened.
I think our first 7 games we were averaging around 112 yards a game rushing, and again, our last 4 games we're averaging 227 yards a game. So really a great job, continue to improve that way. I think it aligns with, having the same offensive line, several weeks in a row, certainly helps that.
Y'all are averaging 200 yards. It's funny because when you get to this point in the season, you are who you are, right? You know, I struggle with that actually against Oklahoma because they reinvented themselves in the middle of the season, and it's paid dividends. Like, since that Ole Miss game, that was your first game with the new offensive, the interim offensive coordinator, the new offensive style, trying to run the football, and they had Ole Miss on the ropes for a long time in that football game, but they were facing one of the best defenses in the country, and they were only able to put up 14 points. But since then, 59 against Maine, and yes, I know, it's Maine. But then with your two conference games, 23 points against Missouri, 24 points against Alabama. You've seen it work a little bit better. Whereas, I mean, y'all, leading up to the firing, Oklahoma had scored 3 points and then 9 points. They scored 12 points total. Tennessee held them to 15. In a win against Houston, they only scored 16. So to see them go from that to 59, 23, 24, it's kind of hard for me to be like, okay, yeah, you are what you are from just an overall standpoint. Because in every essence of that, they're not. They reinvented it, and now they want to pound the ball at you, right down your throat, right up the middle of your defense. And when they have to throw it, they'll throw it and try to be successful with it. Jackson Arnold threw for 74 yards against Missouri. He threw for 68 against Alabama. That is not what they're going for right now. They want to shorten the game and beat on you. And they've done really well. And they've done it with a lot of youth up front as well on offense. That's why you heard Venable say, having the same offensive line together for multiple games now is helping it as well. And you're playing to the strengths of your team. You're doing what you're good at. Jackson Arnold isn't a great drop back passer right now. He can run the football. You have to hold them at bay. Oklahoma wants to do the exact same thing that LSU wants to do. They want to control the clock and control the game. They want to put you in a 3-hour chokehold on offense. LSU has got to get off the field in this game. You have to win this with defense. You have to keep Oklahoma's offense off the field and hope your offense can stay on schedule and put Oklahoma in the 3-hour chokehold. So for me, it starts defensively for LSU in this game. Third down is going to be huge on both sides. LSU is one of the best teams in the country on offense on third down. You need that to show up here. You need to stay ahead of the chains and in manageable down and distance. On defense, you need to keep Oklahoma behind the change in long down and distance where you force Jackson Arnold into throwing the football. Discipline is going to be huge. This is the same type of conversation we had with Jalen Milroe. For God's sakes, redeem yourself. And I'm not saying that Jackson Arnold is Jalen Milroe. He's not. He is not near the athlete. Jalen Milroe is one of the best athletes in the country. He might be the best athlete in the country. But it's the same principle. What you can't do is allow him to come out there, run for 125, 130, whatever yards on you and not have to throw the ball more than 11 times in the game like he was able to do against Alabama, like Jalen Milroe was able to do against you. Jackson Arnold cannot beat you throwing the football. I firmly believe that. You've actually been really good in coverage this year. So force them into having to do it. Stay disciplined, lanes, fits, all of that. Get after the quarterback. This thing starts on defense for LSU. I can't say it enough. A couple injuries before we give the final pick, the final prediction. Garrett Dellinger, and we'll wait and see. They're going to take that day by day, once again, as you would imagine. Probably going to be a game-time decision. The availability report comes out Wednesday night, so you'll get a closer look at that. That's really the one you're looking at mostly for LSU, although Paul Mubanga really took a nice step last week against Vanderbilt, and that was great to see. On the offensive side for Oklahoma, there's a couple wide receivers. Jaleel Farouk, he broke his foot week 1 against Temple. Recently returned, but Brent Venables said on Tuesday suffered a setback. So they are likely to be without Jaleel Farouk, but they've been without him the majority of the year. Perhaps the one of greater consequence is Deion Burks. Deion Burks has suffered through a lot of injuries so far this season. He's missed plenty of football games as well. He was able to return against Missouri, suffered a concussion, missed last week against Alabama. Here was Brent Venable's update on Deion Burks.
Yeah, it's still up in the air, and we'll see where he's at. I think he had a history of concussions at Purdue, and so you keep track of all that history. It's a very delicate thing, and but he's as tough as they come.
Up in the air, history of concussions. Brent Venable would add they have to cross all their T's and dot their I's and make sure do it twice, right? The old make a list, check it twice type deal with Burks for him to be able to play. That is a significant loss. Again, they've been without him plenty so far this season, but when you look at his numbers, he is still second on the team in receptions, and he still leads the team in touchdown receptions, even though, y'all, you look at Deion Burks' game log this season, he's only played in 5 football games. So he's missed 6, and he's still up there. For God's sakes, make Jackson Arnold throw the football. Okay, final prediction. You have 2 teams that want to do the same thing here. They want to win this game on defense and put you in a chokehold offensively, score enough, but control the game, control the clock. I like what I saw from LSU last week. I do, but how could you not love what you saw from Oklahoma last week? 2-touchdown dog on your home field, and they flat out dominated Alabama. Dominated them. That game was never close. Obviously, with LSU, you were in control of that game after you tied it. Vanderbilt never led again. That was your second drive of the game. You tied it up. Vanderbilt never led again. You controlled that game. The touchdown margin, a little misleading. You controlled that game. You did everything to Vanderbilt that you did to Florida, except you finished drives and won. Now, yeah, you're taking a step up in competition because that defense is better. Oklahoma's defense is better than Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma, undoubtedly, being the program that they are, is more talented, top to bottom, than Vanderbilt. It's a really tough one to pick. It really is, because I think these 2 teams are very similar in a lot of ways, talent-wise, and again, like I said, what they want to do on the field. But, luckily, there is an angle in this game that I love to go with that helped me make this decision. I love the spot for LSU. How could you not be impressed with what you saw from Oklahoma last week? Of course you are. But, man, that was a huge emotional win at home. Your first year in the league, knocking off Alabama, who had everything to play for when it came to the playoff, and Atlanta and all of that, and you were a 2-touchdown dog, and as I said, you dominated that football game. The fans stormed the field, everything you could ever want. Huge, huge emotional win. And a tried and true angle is the field storm fade. The team coming off that huge emotional win. You factor in that. You factor in it's a holiday week. There's plenty of other distractions going on. Maybe family coming into town to travel to go down to the game. You got you're off of school. There's a lot of distraction for Oklahoma coming off that win, now having to travel down to Tiger Stadium. I like the spot, so I'll take LSU. Low-scoring game. I also kind of like the under here. It's at 47 or so, 47.5 or so. I like LSU to take this one 23-20 on Saturday night. Very low scoring, and a lot of it's the spot. Really all of it's the spot. It would have been really tough without that win for Oklahoma last week, honestly, for me to pick it. All right. Again, subscribe, share. Greatly appreciated. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Again, happy, healthy days with your family, good food, good football, all of those things to you, good memories as well. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll be here again on Monday, taking the rest of the week off. So subscribe, share, follow on social media, and be back here on Monday. We'll put a button on LSU's regular season, recapping the Oklahoma game on LSU Daily.